Appreciate your patience and sorry, but maybe next week we'll have a better planned. Holy Parsha Chukat, my friend, beautiful Parsha. It's in your book. It starts on page 177. In the book of the Torah, it's page chapter 19, verse number 1 to 6. So it's a fascinating parsha, and it's also the portion that has the famous story in Chukat, that was the story of Moses hitting the rock. And there also is a reason why it's connected to this parsha, this Moshe Rabbeinu, who hits the rock, and it's connected to the portion of Chukat. But let's start off with the beginning of the parsha. This is a fascinating that Rebbe puts together something that has been argued throughout history, the concept of blind faith, acceptance of blind faith, and the concept of knowledge. It's a great struggle that we have. What's more important? How do we have both? The aspect of blind faith, just to do because God says so, and the concept to understand, as we Jews want to understand, and what is more important, and how do we deal with these two concepts? Let's start off with the Chumash, and it's on text number 1, page 177. I remind everybody that next time in 2 weeks we need a new book. Please order your book, whether to order it to come here or order it to your house. Order the book. We sent you an email, and you can click on ordering a book. Please order the book so we can all learn together. Okay. Also, you're welcome to come back to Chabad to learn in persons, that we don't have to talk to each other through the Zoom. We can look at each other's faces, and you can fall asleep right in front of me. Okay. Text number 1. I'm only going to do the first verse. Zois chukas haTorah. These are the statutes of the Torah. These are the laws of the Torah. That's the simple interpretation. These are the laws of the Torah, Asher tzivah Hashem leimer, which God commanded. Daber b'nei Yisrael, speak to the Jewish people. Yikra lecha por aduma. Tell the Jewish people to take to you a por aduma, a perfectly red heifer. Asher ein bo mum. Asher lo oila oil. I'm just going to stop. We're going to stop that. We're going to stop right there. So we don't need to go much further to understand what the Sikh is about. In short, the por aduma, the red heifer, was an interesting law, and that was a very important law. And it's an important even until today, because we are all impure people. Most of us are impure because there's no por aduma today, right? Because in the Torah law, the only way you can become pure from the impurity, especially from impurity of the opposite of life. If anybody was at a funeral, if anybody was in a hospital and there was a dead person in that hospital, he's impure, becomes impure. So we're almost all impure.
It says
Mikveh is not going to help you for the purity of a dead person. That's probably, you have to go to mikveh also. You always have to go to the mikveh. But to become impure from a dead person, you have to have the por aduma. This red heifer that the Torah tells in this week's portion needs to be taken, it needs to be shachted and burnt. And then you take the ashes, and you have to take these ashes. It sounds really spooky. But that's the law, that's the law of the Torah. But the Torah starts off, Zois chukas haTorah. The Torah starts off right away. These are the laws of the Torah. These are all the laws of the Torah. It's an interesting expression. This is the laws of the Torah, and the Torah says one law. The law of a por aduma, the law of the red heifer. It should have said Zois chuka haTorah, or Zois chuka min haTorah. It says Zois chukas haTorah. These are the statutes of the Torah. It's only one law. One out of the 613 laws is the law of the paraduma. So when we say these are all the mitzvahs, because we know the mitzvahs are three basic different mitzvahs. Mishpatim, Eidiyos, and Chukim. The basic laws of the Torah, meaning don't kill, don't steal, don't do adultery, ox goring ox, etc., etc. And then you have the Eidiyos like Shabbos, and Pesach, and Shavuos, and Sukkot, Tefillin, are all mitzvahs that have, the Torah says, they're connected to something in the history of the past or the future. And then we have the Chukat Torah, the statutes of the Torah, Chukim. We have laws of the Torah that have seemingly no reason. Seemingly no reason. They have no logic. They make no sense. Right? For example, the law of impurity. What is the law of impurity? Right? Somebody goes to the funeral, you become what? I got dirty, I can take a shower. What happened? What happened to my physical body? I went to a funeral, the air conditioner was working, and I went to a funeral. Now I become impure because I went to a funeral. What happened to my body? My body is the same person I walked in the funeral, the same person I walked out of the funeral. So what do you mean I become impure? What happened? How does there a physical change in my body? And okay, I become impure, which doesn't make sense. Which doesn't make sense either.
Well, I feel that wherever pure is kind of doesn't make sense.
Pure or impure? Why do we have to be pure or impure? Why can't everybody be pure and finished? Gandict.
But is anybody pure?
This is not a physical purity.
How do you define pure?
I don't know how to find pure. I cannot put it on a scale. If you're pure, weigh 100 pounds. If you're impure, weigh 150 pounds. There's nothing I can evaluate this concept of purity and impurity. Especially this impurity. Say a woman that goes through a niddah, we can give her whole drushes, death, blah, 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 and there's a change in the person. But the purity of touching a dead body or going to a funeral, that I become impure, what does that mean? How does it change in my body? Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed before, no change after. And there's no paraduma. It's interesting, there's no paraduma for a woman that goes through a cycle. She goes to the mikvah and finished. I go to a funeral. Boom, I'm impure. I have to now go to the red heifer, which is the reason why all of us basically are impure. And how do you purify yourself? It's nice with that red heifer. You take this cow, this cow has it's red. He has no black hairs. You shechta kansa maisa. What is the meaning of this? That's why it's a chukkah. That's why it doesn't make any sense. So then the question is even further, even more powerful. If the paraduma doesn't make any sense, why would this be the law of the Torah? These are laws of the Torah. It doesn't make any sense. Laws of the Torah make sense. Most laws of the Torah make sense. So since most of the chukim make sense, most of the laws of the Torah make sense. So then this is not the laws of the Torah. Right? So why would we call this the Chukas HaTorah? Why would we call Shabbos the Chukas HaTorah? Why would we call Bismillah the Chukas HaTorah? I can give you other mitzvahs that we would say, that the Torah would say, this are the Chukas HaTorah, keep Shabbos. Keep circumcised. The Torah picks a mitzvah that is so incomprehensible. Incomprehensible, that's the right word?
Incomprehensible.
What?
Incomprehensible.
Yeah? Anybody have a question?
No.
No question. I'm happy to hear that. At least you hear me. Let's continue.
Yeah.
How do we know that it's such an unbelievable smart mitzvah? Because you have in text number 2. Omar Shloima Melech said, page 178. I understand them all. Shlomo Melech was the wisest man of all men. Said, I understand them all, but the passage of a red heifer I analyzed, questioned, and investigated. The Zalman states in Koheles, I have said, I'll become wise, but I was far from me. So Shlomo Melech said, I understood every mitzvah Torah besides this mitzvah doesn't make sense. So why it's unbelievable. Right? And text number 3, and God gave Solomon wisdom and understanding exceedingly much, and the largest of his heart as a sand in the seashores. And Solomon's wisdom was greater than the wisdom of all the children of the east and all the children and all the wisdom of Egypt. And he was wiser than all men, than Eitan the Hittite, than Haman the Chalcol, and Dada, the sons of Machal. I don't know who that is. And his fame was all the nations about him. He was the smartest man that ever lived. So he didn't know it. So that almost makes sense, like it's not knowable. Maybe this mitzvah is unknowable. It's unknowable. We have a mitzvah that Shlomo Melech said that other chukim, he figured out impurity. But Paradum he didn't figure out. He has an unknowable mitzvah. Paradum, it's an unknowable to him. So maybe it's unknowable. Maybe that's the point. We'll have to figure out why would the Eibishter give a mitzvah that's unknowable. Nobody knows it. Maybe, or not nobody knows it. It's unknowable. So it's not a knowable concept. Not something that could be known. That's not true. Just look at text number 4. Rabbi Yossi, son, text number 4, page 179. Rabbi Yossi, son of Rabbi Chanina, said, God said to Moshe, to you, I'll reveal the reasoning of the red heifer. So there is a reason to the red heifer. But for everyone else, it will remain a chukah. So now that changes the whole thing. That means there is a reason.
What is the source of, where did he get?
It's in the Torah?
The Gemara, it's a Gemara.
Oh, Gemara.
This is a Midrash, Rabbah.
Oh.
So where did he get it? Where's the Gemara now?
Call up Rabbi Yossi and ask him. It was a prophecy of parshat. He said what the Eibush said. He was a prophet. Knew what the Eibush said. The Eibush said to Moshe, Rabbeinu, I'm going to tell you the reason of the paradoma. That means Moshe Rabbeinu knew the reason of paradoma. That means that it is knowable.
Nobody asked him?
Oh, very good question. And the answer would be that if Moshe Rabbeinu would give you the answer, you wouldn't understand what he's talking about.
Oh, you wouldn't know what he was talking about.
You would not understand what he's talking about. You wouldn't comprehend the reason.
But Moshe could.
Moshe could. Even Shlomo Melech couldn't understand the reason. But Moshe Rabbeinu understood the reason. That's amazing. So Moshe Rabbeinu understood the reason. So it is knowable. It's not knowable to us. Why would God have a mitzvah that's not capable?
In that case, why did Moshe need people to help him judge? If he could understand the red heifer, why would he?
Because he didn't understand, because there was too many people to judge. There was too many people. Nobody could have judged the nation. There was too many people. There was 1 million people. You got 1 million Jews. You at least have 500,000 court cases. So it's impossible to handle everybody's argument. So we have to really comprehend, really we have to understand that everyone wants to say that there has to be something in the aspect of knowing something, because the Torah was given that we should know. And something that is a concept that we cannot understand. What's the positives of both? Is there a positive? Is the positive in knowing everything, understanding everything, and the positive of not knowing something?
Okay.
What is the positive? Is there a positive in each one? The positive of knowing everything is that's why it makes sense to us. What would be the positive in not knowing?
You'd have to continue studying.
Very good. So it motivates us to study.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. So text number 5, this brings down the Rambam, Maimonides. He says as follows, very interesting in the way, we're going to show you a couple of different sages, the way they looked at it. So he writes, the category of mitzvahs called chukim, such as prohibition against wearing wool and linen together, or eating milk and meat together, the chukah, or scapegoat and Yom Kippur, the Abish tells you to take the azazel and throw him off the mountain. This is like these kind of mitzvahs. Our sages generally did not believe that these matters are entirely within reason or purpose. For that would render them meaningless. Do you see what the word over here? These words, that will render them meaningless. If they would be without reason, then it would have no meaning to us. Right? Because when you're saying something is meaningful, it has meaning. So if the Eibishter would give us a mitzvah that has no meaning, so we would basically walk away from it because it has no meaning to us. Rather, that's why the Rambam, who is a realist, said, rather they believe that there is a cause for them. Meaning that there's some kind of purpose they serve. So what's the problem? It's just that this purpose is hidden from us. So you have to go, that's where belief falls in. You have to basically say, no, there is a meaning. Not that it's meaningless. Not that it has no meaning, it has no purpose. No, there is a purpose. I don't understand the purpose. It's above my pay grade. Can I comprehend that something's above my pay grade? But to say there's no meaning, the Rambam says it can't say that. There has to be a meaning. There's got to be, and that's why Moshe Rabbeinu, the Eibush had to tell Moshe, we have to tell a secret to somebody. Right, so now you know. Okay, Moshe Rabbeinu, Mashiach comes, you go to Moshe Rabbeinu, you'll ask him. You'll ask him the first question. Can you give us the? You can say you can understand the Alter Rebbe's Shariach B'Muni. You understand my? I'm going to tell you some Kabbalistic concept. You'll understand it. Rather, they believe, right? It's just that this purpose is hidden from us, either due to the limit of our intellect ability or to the lack of our wisdom. That's it. What do you expect? How do you expect to tell a kindergarten kid a very deep concept? It's not hidden. It's hidden from him. Ultimately, every mitzvah has a reason. Every obligation, prohibition serves a purpose. The purpose of some of them has been explained to us, such as prohibition against murder or theft. And the purpose of others has not been explained to us. That's it. When you get older, my father would say, when you get older, you'll understand. That's it. Well, one day, we'll get older, we'll understand.
So we should say not that you should live to be 120, but you should live long enough to understand the mitzvah.
Okay, beautiful. I love it. That's a good idea. That's why I agree with that. So I'm going to live forever. So I think that's perfect. So therefore, That's the way, so the Rambam says, so look at the Rambam, that's the way the Rambam looked at it. Whenever we find such a commandment where the reason is not understood, it is due to lack of our understanding. It has nothing to do with the mitzvah. The mitzvah has a meaning. The mitzvah has a purpose. It's basically we are too stupid. That's it. You can't blame God because we have a lack of knowledge. You cannot understand. I would love to tell you. You're just too dumb. And my mind goes further in text number 6. Although all the statutes of Torah are divine decree, it's appropriate to meditate upon them, and whatever is possible, that's why you should try to give a reason, even though it's not the real reason. Because the Eibishter was given for us to give reasons to the mitzvahs. Nothing more given. You want to come up with a reason for paraduma? Gesundheit. Come up with a reason. The sages of the early generation said that King Solomon understood most of the rationalization for all the statutes of Torah. And you should try to come to a reason to everything you do. Because the Torah was given for a reason. Every mitzvah Torah was given for a reason. What's the reason for paraduma? I don't know. Not because there's no reason, but the reason is just too high for me. The reason is just too high for me. So that's the way that Rambam looked. And the truth is that most of us don't even know the real reasons of most of the Torah. Because it's really too high for us. Not because there's no reason, because it's really too high for us. Because really the reasons are the reasons that we do majority mitzvahs are Kabbalistic reasons, very high spiritual reasons. And it's very hard for us to really know what they're doing. But ultimately, most mitzvah Torah we can understand. Comes of Yehuda Levi, the Kuzri, and look at what he says in text number 7. It is God's Torah. Forget about it, guys. The Torah was given by God. And one who accepts it sincerely without theorizing or analyzing is better off than the one who scrutinizes and philosophizes. Forget about it. The Torah was given by God. What is anybody going to start hacking at China about the reasoning of the Torah? However, for one who has fallen to this lofty level and has began to philosophize, it's better to seek a reason for these things which are rooted in divine wisdom than to restore to misconceptions or doubts that ultimately destroy a person. My friends, the Kuzi says, just do the Torah because it's God. God asked you to do it, forget it. Don't start going for reasons. There's no reasons. God. God.
My wife will stop being logical.
You put your own 2 cents in, you ruin everything. The best thing would be don't put your own 2 cents in. So we have 2 camps right now. The pro reason, the anti reason. Don't give any reason. Don't give any reason. It's interesting. Comes to the Maral in text number 8. Look at the way he learns. Look at the way he reads it. He says, the reasons that have been concocted in explanation of Chukim as though the divine commandments of Torah are like some kind of self-help book. You're using the Torah as some self-help book. It's the Maral Mapag. Our fantasy. It's inappropriate to assume that God's commandments were given on human terms. Rather, they are decrees of God, who issues a decree unto his nation like a king who issues a decree over his kingdom. It's good to be king. So he doesn't agree with the Rambam either. He says, no, don't give any reasons. Now it makes sense. This is the Chuk of the Torah. This is the Chuk of the Torah. The whole Torah is a Chukah. But don't give any logic. Comes the Maral says, don't give any logic. Why are you going to do logic? You're doing the Torah because this is what God decreed. My friend, and any mitzvah you do, what do you say? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvaysav v'tzivanu, who sanctified us with his mitzvahs and he commanded us. It's a command. It's a command. What is wrong with reasoning? We know what's right. We know what's right. Right reasoning makes us feel good. It makes us feel like we're part of it. It makes us feel we would have come up with it ourselves. I know you don't think so. It makes us feel there's a lot of good things with reasons, with giving a reason to something. It becomes more internal. It becomes much more internalized, I believe. What's the negative of reasons? Somebody said before. What did you say before? What's the negative of reasons? We jump to conclusions.
It could be wrong.
It could be a wrong reason. We box ourselves. When we give in, we box ourselves. So, well, some use a word that we don't learn more. We don't learn more. We completed. We know the reason, so we don't delve into it deeper because we know it already. Why do I need to go? Why do I need to learn more? If I know it already, I got it. So reasoning, I can give you more, negative the aspect of reason. What? We become lazy.
Yeah.
We could become lazy.
But he said it can contaminate our thinking.
You really just pull away from the actual meaning of it.
So he tells a story. He brings up text number 9. It's the ending of a story. Once came a chassid to the Tzemach Tzedek, and he said that he would love if the Tzemach Tzedek would give him a blessing that his son would retain everything. Everything that he learned, he would retain. He would give him a blessing that everything he would absorb, he would retain everything, he would never lose it, any knowledge. And the Tzemach Tzedek response was that no, the teachings of Chassidus teach us that there needs to be avodas atzvah. The learning of Torah needs to be the self-work. You cannot get this as a gift. You need to have the aspect of self-learning. And the Rebbe Rashab, this is what my father would say that he enjoys better the student that works hard for his learning. He was a teacher his whole life. He said, I enjoy better a student that works hard for learning than a student that is smart, born smart. You ever went to class, you had that smart student, right? No, you had friends. You had some guys that they didn't have to work so hard to get A on the test. It was easy. It was easy. They were smart. They were so smart that the test was never a challenge to them. No, it was just easy for them. Some people are smart. It's easy for them. They grasp it easier. They don't have that. They don't have to work so hard on it. So here over here The Rebbe Rashab gives a beautiful answer in text number 9. He gives a great analogy. The difference between a flintstone and a coal. A flintstone can be used to create fire. Flintstone. The amazing thing of flintstone. Yeah, you guys know what a flintstone is, right? So flintstone, you hit it against something and it creates a spark, creates fire. This flintstone can be in water. This flintstone can be anywhere. You don't see the fire in the flintstone. There's actually no fire in the flintstone. But it has the capability, the potential in the flintstone to create any aspect of fire. But it contains no fire in it. The potential of fire within it can only be extracted by striking it with metal or with another stone. By contrast, a glowing coal has fire within it. Even if there's no visual flame, it can quickly be brought out into the open. Firstly, fire cannot be created from a flintstone without the effort of striking it with metal. Where the flame of a coal can turn into fire simply by blowing it without any effort. So what's greater? The fire of a flintstone or the fire of a coal? Fire of a coal is easier. Fire of a flintstone is harder. More work. So what is better? The flintstone or the fire of a coal? The Rebbe Rashab asked that question.
Coal can't ignite the flame. It can only burn once it's ignited. So the flintstone can bring it out of nothing.
But it's also the coal's right there. I don't have to work there. I have a coal. If I want to start a fire and I have a coal or a flintstone, what am I going to use? I'm going to use the coal. I'm going to use the flintstone. Use the coal. The coal's there already. It's burning. It might be hitting. No, burning coal. A burning coal. I'm talking about a dead coal. A burning coal. A burning coal is right there. It might be covered, but it's still hot. A flintstone, I have to go take it and make it out. So you think that the burning coal is better. Rebbe Rashab says, however, there's a limit to the fire in the coal. Once the coal is extinguished, no more contains any fire. Once the coal is extinguished, it's dead. You cannot take the coal. You can hit it and say, do whatever you want to the coal. The coal will never have any fire. But the flintstone will always have fire. In the flintstone, by contrast, the potential for fire never ends. It can always be extracted. That's the scary thing of logic. You'll only go to where your logic goes. A person that only takes things out of knowledge will only go to as far as knowledge goes, as far as his knowledge goes. He will never hit that flintstone that maybe there's a deeper knowledge. No, because I only go to the where my understanding goes. And if it makes sense to me, fine. It doesn't make sense to me, then I'm not going there. You with me?
Yeah.
You with me?
Yeah.
So you can take this concept in any kind of way in a relationship too. If a relationship is only based on logic, then the relationship will only grow according to our understanding. If my relationship is based on our potential of one another, then this relationship can continue to grow. Then we can handle things that we might have not thought that it's going to come our way, right? Imagine if that person's get married and they say, I'm gonna have this wonderful relationship only if everything goes a certain way. We know life is not that way.
That's the reality.
Right?
If it is reality.
Correct. In fact, some people cannot handle the reality. Some people cannot handle the change. In the situation that comes from within or without. Because they only have that capability of what they understood is gonna happen in this marriage. Now suddenly it's out of the box, a situation that they cannot understand. They're out. They didn't buy into this. They didn't bargain for this. They didn't pay for this. It's not what I signed up for yet. Because I know what I signed up for. I thought I know what I was getting. But if your relationship is based on what potentials each one can have, then you want your other person to change. Right? You would want each one to grow and to change, become better, become different. We would want that concept. We would search for that concept. And if something would happen, we'd be able to handle it. What?
No, I was just going to say that the logic, we create our own limitation.
Correct?
Yeah.
We create you create a great limitation. Logic, but there's a positive in logic. There's no question about it. We're not going to go away from logic. We're not going to go away from logic because we need that, because ultimately we are logical people. And they're able to create us as logical people. But at the same moment, we have to realize that not that there's something that's unlogical. There's something that's deep within us that gives us greater potential. There's something like we have the conscious and the subconscious. There's something within the subconscious that will come out and give us a greater potential. That's why Chassidus says that a challenge is called a nes, a nesoyin. It's called a challenge, called a nesoyin, which is the same root as a nes, a miracle. The challenge is going to bring out within us something that is going to bring out a potential, something we didn't have. Something we didn't have in a normal, logical situation. Something we didn't bargain for, maybe. Or we thought we didn't bargain for. So that's a person who knows how to take every situation and ultimately figure out a way to deal with every situation. Yep.
You mean a logical person?
A logical person. I want to say on Shabbos, the Rebbe once asked a bar mitzvah boy came over to him and said to him, bar mitzvah came to the Rebbe. The Rebbe said to him, what do you enjoy? So he said, I love baseball. The Rebbe said, what are you? He's New York. So he said, are you a Dodgers fan or a Yankee fan? He says, he's a Dodgers fan. So the Rebbe said, you go to the game. My father took me to the game, takes me to the Dodgers game. And the Rebbe said, when did you go lately to games? He said, yeah. How was the game? Yeah, the Dodgers were losing. They were losing. The ninth inning, it was 9-2. So we decided, so the Rebbe said, what happened? So he said, we left. He said, the Dodgers, they're not going to win. It's the ninth inning. They're not going to win. They're going to have a miracle to win. So we left. So the Rebbe said, wow, did the players leave? Did the Dodgers leave? So he said, the Rebbe said to the Rebbe, players can't leave. We're fans. Players cannot leave. So the Rebbe said, that's the lesson in life. Right? Don't be a fan, be a player. Players don't leave, even if they're losing. If you're a fan, you can leave. Okay? We're losing. I'm a fan of the Dodgers. I was hoping they were going to win. There's a bunch of losers. I'm out. I'm leaving. Otherwise, I should have watched them lose. Be a player. A player does not leave if he's losing. He can't leave. It's part of the game.
A fan who would be paid $100,000 for the game wouldn't leave either.
No, he will leave. He will leave angry. A player doesn't leave. A player knows. Sometimes you win. Sometimes you lose. Maybe you learn from when you lose. You learn. Hopefully, you learn how to not lose again. So therefore, the Rebbe says in text number 10, that's what we're going to come to a full circle, to bring both things together. Siddur brings both things together. Siddur says the true reason for mitzvahs were not revealed. Really, all mitzvahs are chukim. Even though we have reasons, but that's not the true reasons. The true reason for mitzvahs were not revealed because they transcend intellect. Really, every mitzvah transcends intellect and understanding. Even in those mitzvahs for which there seems to be an understandable reason, these reasons are not the ultimate reasons. Rather, there's a much deeper wisdom contained within it. One that is above our ability to understand. The Eibishter wanted that we should continue to go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper in this relationship. We shouldn't just say, oh, we got the reason. We should, every mitzvah we do, whether it's a mitzvah that makes some sense or a mitzvah that doesn't make sense, we should say, oh, it made sense today. Let's go deeper into the unsensed to find some sense. Let us continue to go deeper and deeper. And that's the beauty of that every mitzvah is ultimately a chukah. So therefore, the Tefillah writes in text number 11, Mishpatim, like honoring one's parents, giving tzedakah, refraining from theft or robbery, are perfectly logical. On the other hand, chukim have no logical basis at all. Now, logic would dictate that we ought to observe chukim with as much commitment as we observe mishpatim. Meaning, just as we have a natural affinity to mishpatim, to agree that we have kept them, even if God hadn't commanded us to, not to kill, not to steal, we must similarly observe chukim with an equal rezats, because they are commanded by God. But the truth is the other way around. We ought to observe mishpatim the same way we observe chukim, meaning observing them simply because they're the will of God. It's like in any relationship. We should have reasons why we're married, but ultimately the reason should be because we have a relationship. Not because of what we're going to gain or lose, but because it's the will of the Eibishter. I'm doing something for you because that's your will. So if your wife wants to, or your husband wants you to meet you someplace or to go someplace, you might say, "What's the reason? Why should I do it? I'm too." And then you might say, "You know what? She must have a reason." I don't know the reason. Let's do it that way. Or he must have a reason. Let's go that way to fulfill her wishes. And maybe by doing it her way, or by doing it his way, we'll reveal a deeper reason. I'll learn a deeper concept than doing it my way. That's a true relationship. And since you're never going to ever to figure out your spouse, because you're never able to figure out your wife's reasons, you'll be following her for the rest of your life. And And hopefully one day you'll be inspired and get the true reason to fulfill his desires. What? If whatever she wants. That's why God says to Abram, whatever Sarah says, you shall do. Because even though you don't understand the reason, but if you want a relationship with your wife, you should do it anyway. Because that's the ultimate reason. The ultimate reason you got married.
The wife says to the husband, there's nothing I wouldn't do for my husband. And the husband says, there's nothing I wouldn't do for my wife. And so they do nothing for each other.
That's a good one. That's a good one. We'll have to remember that one. That's the total opposite of with the whole class. He does boom, wipe the whole situation now. But the truth is, that's the beauty. That's the Rebbe says. That's the beauty. Why it says specifically over here, Zeis Chukas HaTorah. Because the truth is, the whole Torah is the concept of the Parah Duma. It's about God, the relationship with God and the Jewish people. It's about fulfilling the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and ultimately Him fulfilling our will. And that's really where the whole Torah mitzvahs. So here, the Torah in essence says that the whole Yiddishkeit, all the reason that we're going to give, all the understanding that we have and why we do a mitzvah is wonderful, but it's really there to fulfill the will of the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because it's really, you need to learn how to have a relationship with God. And maybe through learning how to have a relationship with God, you learn to have a relationship with each other. And they're together between God and each other. That's why obviously so love another Jew and love of God. They go together because it's all about finding yourself is through finding the other. And that's why we call it parshat, because we grow with one another like we grow with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, fulfilling each other's will. And that's the beauty of Av Yisrael, to fulfill each other's will. It's not about me, it's about the other person, it's about the will of the other person, the ratzon of the other person, the will of the other person. The will of the other person, I don't have to understand it because it's you. So it's your will. Fulfilling your will is not always understanding exactly why your will is, even though it would be wonderful to understand everything that you want, but not always possible. That I will per se comprehend every will that you have and every desire. It's my wishes to fulfill your desires, your wills. Desire. Yes.
It's interesting because when you're speaking, I'm thinking we're the only beings in the whole universe that have free will, and here, so it makes sense what you say. But here we have, and that's why this is the main thing, because we're told, okay, you have free will, you don't have to accept this, but this represents.
Yeah. This could also be why the Torah puts the story of Moshe Rabbeinu and the Chila and not sanctifying God's name. Because it's again, you're right. You spoke to it, didn't work. You should have not give up. See, because that was my will. You're right. You didn't work. Didn't work once. Did you try 100 times? Because that's my will. That's what the Abish says to Moshe. You forgot about me. I understand that people are frustrated and you got frustrated, but you didn't do my will. I asked you to speak to the rock. I know it's easy to hit the rock. I know it's easy, but that's not my will. So that's where you didn't fulfill it. So ultimately, with the beautiful story, the outcome's the same. Because the rock would have given out water if you had spoken to him. The rock gave out water with hitting it. So the rock gave out water. What's the difference? So when we count, what's the difference to God? The point was to give out water. So what's the difference to God if you spoke to the rock or you hit the rock? ultimately, both of them happen the same conclusion. But you know what was missing? Back to Shani David says, you didn't fulfill my desire.
But the
My
penalty is
desire was that you should speak to the rock. My desire was not that the water come out, not the water. I know the water's going to come out. The desire was that it should be done through speaking. That was my desire.
the penalty is too great.
Yes, what?
The penalty was too great.
Okay, that's a good question. That's another issue. And the truth is, that's why it's worked out. It's not only because of the rock that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't go in. Moshe Rabbeinu actually, when he tells later on in the bottom why he didn't go in, he doesn't even mention the rock. He mentions the Meraglim, that why he didn't go in, and not because of the rock. But there's other reasons. That's what the Gemara says. Other reasons why he didn't go in, besides the rock. So, but again, it's interesting to see how God says, because it makes sense. God is angry, but the rock gives out water. I mean, why would the rock give out water? Moshe hit the rock. The rock wouldn't give out water, and God would still be angry. Why you hit the rock for? But why did the rock give out water? Because Moshe Rabbeinu asked the rock to give out water, and the Jews needed water, and he hit the rock, and the rock gave out water. So what's the difference to God how the rock gave out water? What's the difference to you? Like say, what's the difference to you how I do it? I'm going to do it anyway for you. What's the difference how we do it? So you want to go A, we'll go to B. We'll have the same lunch. You want to go here for lunch. I want to go to here for lunch. We're having lunch. But it's not the same lunch. It's not the same thing. Why? Because I'm not fulfilling your desire. Even though the outcome is the same thing, but we're not fulfilling each other's desires. And to fulfill somebody else's desire is not to ask the question, why is that your desire? Important to fulfill each other's desire.
So why wouldn't we?
Yeah, but I understand. That's not that. But I'm saying that inside what the lesson over here is that we should want we should in every mitzvah want to fill the Eibishter's desire, to fill God's desire. Not per se important to me if I know the reason, don't know the reason, or I know the purpose, don't know the purpose. But the purpose is to fill the Eibishter's desire. Then, should I know the reason? Yeah. 100%. David gave us a brain that we should know the reasons and we should understand the reasons. But that's not the real reason. We should realize the real reason is to fill God's desire. And that's how that's why it says when you do a mitzvah, you do a kilchasa. You do like the halacha says. What difference are I did the mitzvah? So it wasn't exactly, that's a Moshe Rabbeinu. It wasn't exactly. The main thing is to bring the water out of the rock. Not how I brought the water out of the rock. The main thing is to bring the water out of the rock. And David says, no, you're right. The water came out of the rock. But he didn't do it the way I wanted it to do. So it was not about me, it was about you. And that's not a relationship. If the relationship is about you and not about me, there's a lack of this relationship. And that's why this is Chukat HaTorah, because from the parshat Duma we learn, because by the parshat Duma all of us can say that it has nothing to do with us. So why did Moshe Rabbeinu did know the laws of parshat Duma? So why was Moshe granted the laws of parshat Duma? That's the last one. I missed that last part. Why was Moshe Rabbeinu granted? So why did God tell Moshe Rabbeinu the parshat Duma? Because Moshe Rabbeinu was honor mikol adam. Because Moshe Rabbeinu was ultimately the most humble person of every person. Moshe Rabbeinu had true humility. And since Moshe Rabbeinu had true humility, he merited to know the reasoning of the parshat Duma. If we had the humility of Moshe Rabbeinu, we would also all merit to have the reasoning of the parshat Duma. When you have true humility, too little to the Eibush, that's your last text of the thing. I think so. Is it? Page 189. This now Moshe was exceedingly humble on the face of the earth. And since Moshe Rabbeinu was exceedingly humble, that's why he merited to have the because Moshe Rabbeinu was bottled to God. But still, he was a human being, and he made this one oops, so to say, in this week's parsha.
Knowledge of that related to instruction of God? It's not related.
There's no relationship, but the connection is again that it's not the outcome; it's really the process. The outcome is the same. The process, the relationship. That's the point. The point is that the reasoning is really connected more to the outcome. You have to know the reason to have a better outcome. But really the Parabduma teaches us it's about the process. It's about the relationship with God, doing the will of God. That is important. Okay, guys, I wish you a good night. Have a wonderful night.